all you out there in YouTube land, this is Translator10 and I'm back with another action figure review. Back in the mid to late 1990s, Marvel really started issuing their collector style action figures. These were due in part to the adult collectors actually buying up the Spider-Man and X-Men toys that were being released through Toy Biz. So Marvel and Toy Biz decided to release some collector-friendly action figures as well. And the first one they released was in 1997 in a really cool Super Deluxe box set called the Marvel Collector Editions. Usually these were about 5 to 6 action figures. The first one released was, of course, the original classic X-Men, with the original team as they appeared in issue number 1, drawn by Jack Kirby and scripted by Stan the Man Lee. So we have Cyclops, Iceman, well, he looks more like a snowman in this appearance, Jean Grey, who was then called Marvel Girl, Beast, you know, he was human at one time before he grew even more hairier, and the Angel. This is the same guy that would later become Archangel. Opening up the box, you have a collection of covers from the first 7 X-Men issues. However, you really can't see much of the detail with these covers, and even as a kid, because I did receive this as an Easter present back in 1997, 1998, even as a kid, I was extremely dissatisfied with not being able to see the actual covers. Because growing up in the 1990s, comic book art just didn't look as epic as it does in these covers, especially with these little speech bubbles. I've beaten the X-Men before and I shall do it again, but this time it will be forever. Stay back, all of you. Those are the orders of Professor X. Little speech bubbles all around, the X-Men battle the Blob, featuring the dreaded return of Magneto and such. You know, these were just little speech bubbles that would actually entice you to buy this comic book. And that's just something that they don't do anymore. There ain't even that good action covers anymore. A lot of the covers these days are just like headshots of the characters or body shots of the characters doing these magnificent posing. Every once in a while you come up with a really cool action spot, but whatever. And if you really didn't care what I was saying, you were more or less reading this bio, well, might as well just pause it right here because I'm taking it away. So far I kind of like the cover art with these. I especially love how they have the very first issue. So for those who haven't even read an X-Men comic book from the 60s, it gives you a really great look into a long-forgotten era. I do like the little speech bubbles, and everything looks like it belongs from the 1960s. Then, of course, we have in each of the trays more random panels. I know those 3 are from X-Men number 1. This one is from X-Men number 4, X-Men number 4, X-Men number 1, X-Men number 1, X-Men number, I don't know what that one's from, maybe X-Men number 4, 5, 6, I don't know what these last 2 panels are from. But what I really don't like is, I would really like much to see this, and instead it's just cut out for the actual action figures. But other than that, it's a really nice, cool looking box set that actually gives you a look into that long forgotten era. Now, let us peel back the packaging and we'll take a look at each of these action figures. So, everything's out of the box, and here we are in their very little action pose. We have Cyclops, the battle commander, ready to open fire. We got Beast with his massive physique, ready to defend or attack. We got Iceman with his ice ball projectiles. One of them looks like it's forming. We have Marvel Girl just standing around. I guess you could say that the one hand is raised up because she's about ready to control something. But without it actually facing outward, it could just look like she's scared. And then we have Angel. Possibly my favorite action figure in this set. I'm going to save him for last. Start out with Iceman. Now, of the original X-Men group, Iceman was one of my favorites. He was the goofball of the group. He was the youngest at about 16, so that would definitely make him the youngest of the core group. In his original appearance in X-Men 1 through about X-Men 6 or 7, Iceman had more of a snowy appearance. It wasn't until his extensive mutant training to harness his powers, he found out that he could actually crystallize his frosty exterior to an almost transparent state. And even though that defies physics, I guess, it was pretty cool. This is Iceman as you would have seen him in the first issue. His snowy appearance. Well, actually, I wouldn't say the first issue, because in the first issue, you really couldn't see the distinguishing characteristics of his face. It was really a wonder how he could see, anyway. But I think it was like issues 3 or 4 is when they really started having him with his, so you could actually see his face. Iceman, his articulation is as so. He does have the shoulder rotation. His elbows can bend, and his wrists can rotate as well. His hips. His waist, he only has the hip articulation. He can only go up so he can sit, and that's just about it. His knees bend, and of course his ankles bend as well, but due to the awkward stances, having his ankles articulate is pretty just useless. He could really only stand like this, and even then his left foot is still slightly off the ground, so he's very unstable. You can knock him down almost easily. What I do like about this figure is the paint job. Obviously what they did was they went with a very transparent plastic, and they just frosted this winter green look all around his body, and it really does show, and it makes for a very pleasing appearance. However, his sculpt sucks, especially getting back to his face. His face, now Iceman was the youngest of the group, so therefore he should have this childlike personality. So they tried to incorporate that with this really awkward looking smile. But without eyes, without the childlike look of like a teenage boy, he just comes across as very creepy, especially with that Michael Myers head tilt. Toy Biz had a very massive fail. But another thing that I like about this action figure is you can see he has the one ice ball, and he has another one that looks like it's forming. Like he's actually forming his one projectile. He's actually freezing the molecules of the air to create this ice ball. So that is another really cool feature I like about Iceman. Even though, as a kid, looking at the back of the box, I thought that the projectile was originally removable, but it's not. Too bad, so sad. So that's Iceman. Coming back, we'll get to the Beast. Beast, of course, was the oldest of the group. He was about 17 or 18 years old. he had heightened intelligence as well as heightened strength in hands and feet. Those were his powers. What I really love about him is the detail that goes into his feet. You could definitely see like the little dirty like nails, and they just added just like a little bit of brown in between his toes just so you could see that he has been looks like he has been wandering through some dirt. Same thing with his fists. You have that extra little detail around. And his hands are just, his left hand is beautifully sculpted, and it does have that little paint wash added to further show off his joints better, and it really does look nice. Now, what I love about the costume is instead of just going with the traditional blue or black or midnight blue, because a lot of those issues to save on to save money, really what they did was they just either printed the costumes in either all blue or they printed them in all black, and really the only blue that you would see in the original comics were on the covers, because that's really what they could allow in the budget. The panels, they just used one color. It was either blue or black. So Marvel, or Toy Biz, really did this really nice little paint wash where they took a midnight blue and a very dark deep blue, and they kind of washed it together to almost make it look like a reflective, light is reflecting off of the costume. It really does look very nice. However, the figure sucks. I hate Beast's head sculpt. In fact, I hate a lot of the head sculpts on these. He just looks like a brute. He looks like a muscular brute. There's nothing at all that looks as if this guy is intelligent. They really did not capture his essence well at all. He's also very over-muscular. He's definitely the largest of the group. Now, Beast may have been the bulkiest just because of his mutant powers, but he definitely wasn't the tallest. And when this guy stands, he is the tallest action figure of the group. Here's Cyclops. I mean, he's... Also, it's really hard to get this guy to stand tall either way, because he does have the added articulation where you can actually move his hips about to get some of those more acrobatic. But because of this massive weight on the top of his body, it just weakened the joints, and there's just nothing left. So really the only pose I'm going to get out of this guy is his crouched position. That's it. Another thing I really like about Beast is you could be able to move his head up or down, but because I probably did it so much as a kid, it's not really working out too well. And of course you can move him up side to side. Now, I hated action figures where the head was sculpted at a looking up position, because when you turn his head up, it just doesn't look right. Who turns their head this way? Whatever. So, that is Beast. Next, we'll come with the Battle Commander, Cyclops. Cyclops has a really cool, interesting feature as well. He has his little light pipe effect. To replicate his eye blasts. And it's really cool that you could actually see him through his visor. Another thing that was done well in the original Jack Kirby books was whenever Cyclops' visor was open, but he wasn't about ready to fire a blast, you could see those red eyes poking through. So it's really nice that they replicated that into his comic book, into his action figure form. And it's also really nice that you can move his visor up and down just to see his face. However, I don't like his grin. I don't like the teeth showing. Cyclops rarely showed teeth in his early comic books. He basically just opened up his visor and just let loose these energy beams. That was it. Some people may like it, I don't. It's personal preference. I also don't like how they have the one figure's arms sculpted to hold his visor open as he, just sprays down the enemy with his concussion blasts. I don't like this arm because it basically does nothing. They couldn't figure out a way to really get this guy some really decent arm sculpt. Now, if they had him pointing, since he's leading the team, and just have him point upward, I could probably understand it more. But the disproportions of his body, I just don't think that any type of hand sculpt here would have saved this figure from failure. It is really just that bad of a figure, especially this little hourglass motif going on. I don't know what the heck they were thinking with this. Scott Summers is supposed to be slim. Not like this, almost just like a lean, muscular build. But I don't understand why he has such a tiny, tiny little waist and these large forearms. It's almost just like he's wearing a girdle from the Looney Tunes cartoons. He does have that very nice little paint wash on his costume. That's really nice. He does have a little articulation in his knees, his hips, and his ankles. But you can only give him the pose in this manner, and that's it. That's it. It's an okay figure, but there could have been just more done with it, and that's all I have to say about him. Now we have Marvel Girl. Marvel Girl is just a wreck. She is not proportioned at all anywhere throughout her body. Her arms are too long, her legs are too long, her torso is too freaking short, and her boobs are just they're not perfect, they kind of sag a little bit, and that's just not... Boobs shouldn't sag on a teenager, they're supposed to be perky. I know that's a little nitpick going on, but God, my God. At least they're not like the perfect implants that they put on female figures in this day and age. I guess they're semi-proportionate, but she's supposed to be 16 or 17 years old. I really don't think they should be sagging to her mid-chest by now. She does have some articulation. She has this weird spread eagle joint. That's what I call it, the spread eagle joint, because that's what it does. She won't be able to sit right. Almost looks like she's mounting herself, waiting for Cyclops to come around and plow her. Yeah, that's the only sex joke you'll see in this review, folks. Sorry if I offended anybody. She has her arms like this, and I guess it's supposed to represent her mutant power of telekinesis, but really it just doesn't work for me. The one is in a fist, supposed to show her that she's tough, but really, when you can move things with your mind, you don't really need to use your fists. She has the same little wash with her costume that you can see here. And she does have a very nice face sculpt, and that's probably just because she's in a hood. In her original comic books, up until about issue 6 or 7, she wore a hood. She didn't wear that fancy little pointed mask until very much into the original series run. And she does have red hair that flows very nicely out of her scalp. Although her hair wasn't this long in the original issues, it only went to about shoulder length, but that's just a little nitpick of mine. Guys like long hair in the 90s, like hip length hair. So that's really more of what I can say about her, the better. She has basically the same articulation as Cyclops. Now we have my favorite figure of the bunch. This guy you actually had to assemble. You had to take his wings and actually stick them on his body. The Angel. The Angel is how you can do an action figure right. In the 90s, there was a physical boom. There really was. Everything had to be... Why can't I get him to stand now? Of all times, why can't I get him to stand? He stood in the first part of the video. Why can't he stand now? Oh well, I guess I gotta hold him now. Really, the only thing that I can take points off of this figure is what I just trying to get him to stand. It's nearly impossible to get this guy to stand. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. I'm not going to move him. He's got the same articulation as Cyclops. Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, ankles, and the waist. His head does move up and down, and it does rotate 360 degrees like the Beast. It works extremely well, and of course he's got the added articulation with his wings. His wings can actually move up or down and side to side. I mean, not side to side, up and down, and back and forth, whatever. Now, like I said, action figures in the 90s, everything was over muscular. So I'm really glad with the Angel they gave him a muscular sculpt, but it's not too muscular. He's not over proportioned. He's perfect. He is the perfect figure for this set. He was my favorite of all of these action figures in this set. And he was also the most fun to play with, because hey, you could simulate fight with this guy. If only his waist joint wasn't as loose, but I guess it could be because of playing with him and displaying him. These wings do add a lot of weight, and it probably did weaken this joint. But you can actually get him to fly, simulate flying, move his head up, move his wings up or down, and move them out for a really nice soaring look. He's also got a very nice face sculpt. He does have eyebrows, which is something that Jean Grey was missing. He has a very neutral look, almost like he is concealing some glee as he flies, because Angel really wasn't the one that liked being a mutant. In fact, he liked to hide his wings whenever he could. Of course, that stopped in the 70s or 80s when he embraced his mutant heritage. And I think he's got brown eyes, but they could just be black pupils. Overall, this is a very, very nice figure. Very, very nice. Absolutely my favorite of the set. Now, there was a lot of people that did complain about these action figures being a little too muscular, not like Jack Kirby's art. And they actually did. Now, it could be just because the muscular boom did end around 97, 98. So it could be that when the next set was issued in 1999, the Avengers, that they would actually change the look of the action figures themselves. They wouldn't be over muscular, but I'll save that for another review. This is Transato10 signing off.